Hello everyone, welcome to the session of MuleSoft MCP Connector. In this session, we will explore each operation of the MCP connector, except the elicitation operations to understand how MCP server and MCP client work together. I will explain their roles, show hypothetical scenarios where they can be used and demonstrate how to write the code. We will use MCP Inspector and Postman collection to test these applications. Okay. And during our discussion, we will talk about each and every operation of this MCP connector except this elicitation listener. So let's start from our tools listener. I have configured a MCP config. So let's open and see what all things I have configured here. Use the streamable HTTP server. By default, this /MCP comes, so I kept as it is, didn't change anything, and defined one server name and server version as usual. The listener config is default one only. The port is 8082 I kept, and this host is 0.0, so to deploy to Cloud Hub. So that's all related to our MCP configurations, right? Okay. Now let's understand what all tools I have defined. Okay. So first tool is greeting tool, and the name is required field, and as we know that when we create one REST API or HTTP API, we create or give one path, right? So consider this like a path, but this is actually a name of a tool that we give, and all the AI agents identified all those tools through this tool name, and we give a description to give a idea what operation this particular greeting tool performs, and this description helps AI agent to identify what is the operation of this particular tool, and accordingly based on the natural language these tool have been called. So for this particular tool, the schema that I defined, where I have kept this particular name as a required field. So it is taking a name as a parameter, and what it is returning, we are returning payload.greeting as a text content back to our client, right? And what I have given in the transform message, nothing. I just appended this particular hello string and a name. If you will pass name as a Salim, then it will return hello Salim. So that's all related to this particular tool, and this is more than enough for our learning purpose. I have defined more other tools, that is a current time tool, the echo tool, math tool, and string format tool, server health tool, right? At last, I have created this particular tool, and I want to go through this because other than tool listener tool, I have used elicitation, create elicitation also, right? So we'll go through this. As usual, we have given a name for this particular tool, description, and defined a name. As part of name, we are taking this query into the payload, where we'll have to pass one query, right? And what's happening, this query is going to Gemini LLM, and it is returning the response. But before that, I have used in between elicitation, so that before sending this request to Gemini, it will stop us and pop up a window and ask, do you really want to search your query to the Gemini AI? This is not a real type scenario, but what I found, we know we have this particular API key text token, and it can expire soon. So considering this, I created this scenario, and it will give an idea how to use this create elicitation. Right? Here we are taking the session ID, and this needs to see. So what we did, we created a enum that key is approved and value will be approved, and reject value will be reject, and these will come under decision, right, and required true. This all configuration I did here, and if user approves, what we return. uh, so the expression is payload dot content dot decision. If this will be approved, then only it will go and call the Gemini LLM to bring the response from there. Otherwise, it will simply reject the response, reject the request, and we will get this particular response. That's all related to this particular tool. So we got to know about tool listener. Let's understand the resource listener, right? So I'm opening one resource listener. The connector configuration will remain same because this comes under MCP server only, and again we'll have to give a name for that particular resource listener, one description, one new thing that will be URI. We'll have to give one URI, and that is only used to load the resources. So this URI I have given mime type will this, and the text its payload, right, it will return. That's all related to the resource, and the problem is we think that what is the use of this resource, why we create these resources. Generally what happens, whenever we are using any chatbot and giving an instruction to order something, and we do not have idea which particular vendor has these all items, or which particular vendor sells the electronic item. In that case, or there are many other scenarios also, we create a resources, and that resources will be accessible to the user, that user can download these resources, read those resources, and get some idea how to use our prompt or how to use chatbot. For that we define this resource. Okay, so that's all related to resource. Let me go through the prompt listener here. This is the greeting prompts I have created. You know that we have one greeting tool also. To create a prompt for that particular greeting tool, I have created a greeting prompts, and again it has the same MCP configuration. It has one name, greeting prompt, description, like what this greeting prompt does, and it is taking one argument. As this greeting tool taking one argument, that is name, I have configured the same here uh, to create a prompt. So it will take a name argument, and it will return a very small prompt. Call the greeting tool with name plus what this name will be appended here to receive a personalized greeting, right? It seems small, but in real world this type of small prompts are not used, right? We create a prompt, reusable prompt, that we should not type again and again. That can be a small, that can be little bigger. For example, if you'll have to perform some operations and give an instruction, do this if this is okay, do that if that is okay, and do nothing, like that. uh, just suppose if we have to write 5 lines and 10 lines, so for that we usually we create a prompt that is given as part of chatbot, and that particular prompt a user can use by filling only one or two fields, right? You can see here this greeting prompt, it's taking only name, but it's adding all those things. Suppose we have 5 fields, and it can be 20 lines of sentences. So just filling 5 or 10 field only, we can get that type of big prompt. So that is the actual use case, but for learning purpose, I think this is enough for us, right? Okay. Another is session listener, right? This is the own new session listener, and this listener called only one throughout the session. Whenever client try to initialize a session with the MCP server, then this is called only once. And after initializing, when we try to load the tool, try to utilize the tool, this is not called, right? So we can, after using this, we can perform some operations that is some one time. We know some database initializing, all those things, right? But what I did, I have created one X API key and asking the client to pass this X API key on a header, and that header value should be, it's a plain text, but this should not be plain text. This should be something like Gemini API key. This is encrypted, so don't try to use this. This will not work for you. Okay, just for understanding purpose or learning purpose, I have given a very plain text. Okay, so what it will do, it will match with this X API key that client is going to pass in the header, and once this will match, after that we are not setting anything here, we are just logging, uh, and that I intentionally did to identify whether this on new session listener is called only once or with each and every request, but I found it's called only once. And if this is not matching, then we are raising a error, so that the connection should not be stabilized with this MCP server. That's it related to the MCP server. Now let's go to the MCP inspector and check these tools. Okay, so I have opened the MCP inspector. I have already configured uh, this MCP server URL. Let's see once what I did. I given a name. This is a streamable HTTP, and URL is this. So that's all I did. Other than that, you know that as part of our own new session listener, we'll have to pass something in the header, right? Then only connection will be established. So what I did, I am passing this particular header. Don't worry about the case. This is in a capital letter, small letter, right? Don't worry about the case, because anyhow at last it will pass this key in a small letter only, lowercase only. Okay, so this is the value, and now I am establishing a connection. So connection established, and oh, this is a something a new enhancement MCP inspector has made, and this is really good. I like it. Reason is it is giving all the details, like what all particular things has been called here. So first you can see it has sent one initialized request to the server from client to server, and what request it sent, still it's not proper here. You can see we have protocol version here, but JSON RPC and ID is missing. But in the response we can see JSON RPC and ID is missing. So it's not like it is not sending that, but it's not displaying here. If you go to network, then we can see those things, right? Okay, so this is response, right? Yeah, in the request we can see the JSON RPC 2.0 and ID, and the response, see here in response. So this is the beauty of MCP protocol. It uses JSON RPC request to send and receive the send the request and receive the responses. As part of that, we send the JSON RPC this version, and as part of each and every request we send this ID, and this is the response body, right? And the request body also will be same. So what happens, it matches with this id. If this is matching, then only it identified like I got the response. Okay, as part of response you can see tools, resources, prompts, all those things are returning. So through this client is identifying what all things are there in the server, right? One more thing I wanted to check in a header, x API key. See, it is sending in a lowercase, right? Redacted means it's just hiding that particular value, right? If I'll go to protocol, okay, after that what it did, it received the response like id is 0, protocol is matching, then it is just notifying to the server like, yeah, it's initialized, I am okay, I am going to talk to you, keep talking to you, right? Okay, so let's see how it, these all are the beauty of JSON RPC. If you'll go through the JSON RPC, then you will identify how JSON RPC communicates. See, there is only version, no ID, means it doesn't want any response. It just notifying the server. That's why method is notification initialize. Okay, after that, through that particular response, it identified it has tools, it has prompts, it has resource. So you can see it listed down, means loaded all the resources, all the prompts, its tool, right? Okay, loaded down all the tools, prompts and resources, right? That's all. Remember this because this will be helpful for us when we will talk about uh, the MCP client. Okay, so tools, we can see we have these all tools. Let me call only one tool only for testing purpose. It should work. Hello Salim, right? This tool I want to check. Capital of India, right? If I'm, we have used elicitation in this particular tool, so it will pop up one window. It is asking me whether you want to approve to call the Gemini AI or not. So I am submitting, and looks like it's calling a Gemini because it's taking time, and it will return the response, right? Okay, and we will check the reject one also. Okay, it's returning the capital of India is New Delhi. Again, execute the tool. I am not sure whether it has kept in the cache. It should not, but let me, okay. Operation cancelled, right? It's not returning a response when I am rejecting. So we tested only one tool. There are other tools also, right? Greeting tools we tested. Let's test the prompt one, greeting prompt only. So what we'll have to pass, let me pass Muhammad Salim, and it will create a prompt and return back to us. So this is just a prompt. This is not a result. And what we can do, you can, if we have this MCP server configured in our cloud or Copilot, there I can test. I have some issue with the cloud where this protocol is not mismatching. That's why I am not getting this server up in the cloud, so I am not able to pass this one. Anyhow, this type of prompt we will get, and this type of, if you will using that AI agent, then directly there will be a button enabled here that we can directly call this, right? So that is the use of prompt. Resources are just for our useful, that those resources will be available wherever we are going to use our MCP tool, and taking this resources, like we have tool catalog, and using these resources we can identify what all tools are there as part of this uh, particular MCP server, right? Here also we can see, but just for the reference, right? uh, we have created the resources. So that's all as part of our MCP server. And now let's go to the MCP client. So let's start understanding the code of MCP client. So first our MCP client is list tool. We have already seen in MCP inspector, first of all it is calling list tool, then it is calling list prompt, list resources. So whatever the MCP inspector did, we are going to do same thing through our own client. So I have created this as a REST API where we are going to use Postman collection to test these all. But let's first see listener configuration is required, but let's open it. What all things we have configured, right? Default one HTTP port is 8081 that I have created here, and let's focus on list tool. So the MCP client configuration, we know what type of MCP server we have, that is streamable HTTP client. That's why we have configured this one. Second, the server URL, and third, this MCP. This URL is like a HTTP ://localhost :8081, then this /MCP that we have configured, like trying to make sure this should match with the client server URL. Okay, so that one more thing we did, you know that as part of MCP server we are asking X API key in the header and the particular value. So this particular value that we are taking from our properties file, and this we are setting on the header so that it can establish the connection properly with the MCP server. One more thing I would like to say, don't worry about the initialization, like we'll have to define any initialization type of operation here. Whenever we use any MCP client, either tool or operation, internally in MCP connector, it's inbuilt, it initialize the request. Okay, so we don't need to worry about the initialization, we don't need to worry about the notification sent, those things. We just need to worry about all these operations that we have to use. Once we have configured all these things, all prerequisite things will be taken care by our MCP connector. Okay, so that was the configuration. That's all we'll have to do, nothing else, and it will bring all the list those were there in our MCP server, and we are returning this payload, like what all tools are there, nothing else. Now list prompts in the same way. This is the, I am not going to go through this one, what particular path we have configured, right? So let's see this list prompt, how to list down, means load all the prompts that we have configured or there in the MCP server. So again, connector configuration will be there. This is the actual server configuration, but we are working on the MCP client, that's why we made it like this client configuration. But actually the internal configuration are there for server only, nothing else. Again, we'll have to just pass this one, it will load all the prompts available on the MCP server, returning as a payload. Same will be there on a resources, this particular path we have configured this one, nothing else. It will return all the resources and in the payload, right? Now call tool, this we need to take care, think about it. Okay, so the path that we have defined, as part of path we have configured one URI parameter where we are taking tool name, because we do not have only single tool, we have many tools, and we are going to call this particular endpoint to execute each and every tool. Okay, but in a sequence order or one by one. And what we are doing here, we are taking out the tool name into the variable, and we are passing this variable here in the tool name, where store tool name, and configuration will remain same, and this payload. We have to be little bit careful about this payload, because the tool name that we are passing, we'll have to think what type of request this that tools take. If you are passing the correct argument there as part of payload, it will work properly. If something goes wrong, then it can generate an error. Okay, so as part of our postman collection, we are passing correct request only, setting the payload, and it is returning the response. Okay, again the response that we are getting from there, tool name is this, is error no, client proxy. Okay, what it is doing, it is tool name, it is returning the response, right? So tool name, I don't know what is this. There should be a payload, right? Tool name and call tool. Okay, so tool name means where's tool name, result. Okay, result R. Well, that only I was thinking that where payload went, right? We have payload here that we kept in R, so we are getting this payload here. So all good. Now related to prompt, as we are calling the tool, we'll have to call the prompt in a same way. We are taking a prompt name as a URI parameter, taking out the prompt name from the URI parameter, saving to prompt name, and calling the get prompt MCP client operation, right? And passing this particular prompt name, again same comment for me from my side related to argument, like we'll have to pass the correct argument here. If anything goes wrong, this will return a error, right? So we have to make sure according to our prompt it should send correct argument, and again it is returning the payload message, all those things, right? And means what we are doing, if you'll see everywhere, we are just using MCP client operations. Nothing is very minimum configurations are there, and it is working for me. And right, so let's go through the read resources also. It's something different. Okay, we don't have any URI parameter. What I did, I am taking something in a query parameter as part of URI. You have seen in our MCP server resources configurations, there was a URI, right? And we had configured, we have set something like catalog, all those things. So those things will have to pass as part of URI. That I am setting default, like if that is not correct or not passing, then it will bring the catalog resources. Okay, and here again resource URI we are passing, nothing else. It is returning the response, all the resources. We are adding that responses into the content. Okay, again we have ping also is a MCP client operation, and this is the URI, and we are not doing anything else. We are just passing the connector configurations. And what will happen if our MCP server is not up, then this will generate an error, and by default it will return to the error, go to the error handler, and default exception will return from here. If everything is good, then it will go ahead and it will print our responses. And this is thing, means we are sending ping and it is returning pong. Okay, agent loop, what I'll do, I'll first go through the postman collection and see the result, then I'll come back and discuss about it. So that's all related to the client configuration, all those things. Let's go back to the postman collection and see how it is working. Okay, so I have opened a postman collection. I have tested all those things before to make sure there should not be any issue when I'll test it live, right? So this is the list tool. This is the endpoint tools. A method is get. We don't have anything on a body. When we are sending this request, it's returning all the tools, right? And let's verify greeting tools. This is a name, this is the description, input schema. As part of that, I think the name should be as a a required field, we have echo tool and other tools, right? We are not going to go through each and everything. Ping one, where we have just used the client ping operations, and when we are sending the response, it is returning proper response. Reason is uh, there is no any issue with the MCP server. It's connected with our MCP server properly. That's why we are getting this particular response. And this is a call tool, and we are going to just check greeting tool. We are sending MuleSoft developer, MuleSoft developer, oh, MuleSoft. Okay, I'm giving something else, right? I'm giving this particular name. As you know that it will just append a hello software engineer. That's all, right? It looks messy, but when we'll send this to Claude or any use in any other AI agent, it will return a proper response. At last, we will see that. Okay. So we went through the call tool. Let's see the prompt one, list prompt. As part of that, we are using this URI only. We have to send the request, and it will list down all the prompts. We have this greeting prompt, we have analysis prompt, we had 3 prompts, right? Math prompt. That's all. Let's call one prompt again, greeting prompt only, right? I am fan of it. Okay. So just to check, I think we are learning here, right? We are not going to make a big project here. Okay. So name Alice, and what it is returning, it is returning a prompt, call the greeting tool with name Alice to reduce the personalized greeting. So this is returning the prompt that we can use anywhere. Let me use one math prompt also, right? So that you should not feel something why he's using only greeting tools. Operation add, a equal to 10, b equal to 5, it should return what it is returning, what is the result, what happened. Call math tool with operation at 10 5, submitted multi, what happened. Call math tool operation, current proxy math tool, something add subtract, something went wrong, right? Okay, leave it. Analysis MuleSoft MCP connector, what it is doing. MCP, it is returning and analyze the topic MuleSoft MCP connector. Step 1, call current time tool, means it is returning the response, right? Why this is leave it, anyhow it's working, right? Something wrong in the response, but it's not generating any error. Prompt math prompt user context, call tool with operation at 10 5, leave it. Okay, so we have checked the prompt one. Let's check the resource one. So okay, list down all the resources. We don't have to do anything, just pass the resource. It is bringing employee ID, tools catalog, and server info, and we can see URI, MCP this URI, this URI. So whenever you are going to read the resources, we'll have to pass these URI as part of QRI parameter. This is customized, right? We are using like this. It's not recommended by MCP connector. So it's already loaded. It's loading. What I'm doing, I am just removing this G from here. Then what it is returning, it's saying resource not found, means it's working fine, right? It is loading all the resources here. Second, server info not sampling. Approved search is something different. That this is elicitation one. Dynamic one, dynamic, okay. Create someone, math calculation, echo end time. Okay, echo end time, what I doing, echo the text API, echo the MCP connector and tell me the current time, and I don't know, that is not working, right? Echo, let me give these three things, right? Let me send the request. It should call three tools. We didn't discuss this. I have written one code as part of that. What it is doing, first of all, I am passing this text to Gemini and all the tools, and asking Gemini to identify as what all tools will be called. So it is you can see as part of this prompt it use three tools, right? And it is returning this response for from the echo tools. This is the response, MCP connector in uppercase. From current time tool it is returning this particular response, and from echo tool this is returning this particular response. Means at last I have written the steps. Means first of all we are sending this to Gemini LLM to identify which all tools will be called. It is returning the tools, and I am using parallel for each loop, calling each tool with the argument that is being separated out from here, and that is returning the response, and that response again I am passing to LLM to generate in AI agent format, generate the response in AI agent format. So this is the response that has been generated, and looks like we have tested each and everything. Now let's see if you'll pass this same content to Claude, how that will generate the response, right? I have opened the Claude desktop and writing here how will you display this if you get this response as part of MCP server. So the response that I got from Postman request that I am pasting here and asking how will you display, right? It looks messy, but how it is going to display? What it is saying? Here is the result. Here are the results you requested. So what it is saying, I'll display this one, echo MCP connector current time this, and echo to Muhammad Salim. This will be the response of any AI agent. It means our Postman collection response is working fine, right? Let's check one more request. Which one should I prompt or prompt one, right? Let me creating prompt. You are not able to see what I am copying. Okay, so let me give the okay. How will you print this? I copied one more response that is related to greeting tool, right? Hello software engineer. I didn't test it before, but let's see what is respond. Okay, so it's working fine. Hello software engineer. I thought that if something will go wrong again. Okay, so it will print hello software engineer, right? It means everything is working fine. And at last we'll have to see this particular code where taking one prompt and using 3 4 5 means n number of tools. So this is just a path, and what we are doing, we are just saving the user query, whatever queries are coming by default hello, so that it should not generate any error. And step 1, get tool registry. We are saving the tool details in the object store, so that we do not have to call the MCP server again and again. Okay, so this is saving all the tool details in the registry in the object store. After that, save tool registry. Okay, leave it. Step 2, build planning prompt. So as part of that, before sending our request to Gemini LLM, we are trying to make sure the prompt that we are passing there, that should work fine. So accordingly we are creating this particular prompt to pass it to LLM, and the tool also, right? The tool also we are passing, so that LLM can take a decision which all tools should be called, and it is returning all the tools and corresponding line of natural language, right? And after that, what we are doing, parsing the tool response, like taking out all the tools, and through this parallel for each loop, we are looping the tool and corresponding message, and calling each tool and bringing the response. After that, again we are creating answer prompt, like whatever response we received from here, those all tools and responses, we are passing it to Gemini to return in a format that is compatible to all the AIs. So because of that only, when I am sending those or sharing those responses, Postman collection responses to Claude, it is returning proper responses, right? So it is returning the response after making a compatible response, and last we are just setting that particular response, and we have given these particular steps, adding this particular step at last, like what all things we are doing internally. That's all related to our MCP server, MCP client, operations of MCP connector. Hope you all understand each and everything about each operations. Thank you everyone. Bye. Take care.